Hey guys, welcome back to the home shop. A lot of you have been asking for some shaper footage, so how about some shaper footage for the Hardtail Vise build? Behind me, this is my G&E shaper. If you're relatively new to the channel and you haven't seen this machine operate, I do have a playlist on the channel that you can check out that's got everything from acquiring this machine up in Pennsylvania to getting it here, getting it unloaded, getting it cleaned up and operating. And we've got several projects that we've done with that machine over the past, I don't know, I think it's been about 5 or 6 years now that we've now had the shaper in the shop. It's a very old school machine, outdated. These aren't very relative in the machine shop anymore, but they do have a few really useful uses in the machine shop. For example, if you want to do like an internal cut, they're excellent for doing internal shapes, internal keyways, things like that. But they're also really great machines for just taking a bunch of material off of a piece of stock. If you got a big block of steel that you want to take a bunch of metal down, it's an excellent machine to put your material in there and let it start doing its cutting while you walk away and you go over to the mill or the lathe and run those while this guy is making some chips. So it is an outdated machine, not really relevant anymore, but the great thing about shapers is that they're just so cool. They're fun to operate. They're great to just sit back here on the stool once you get the cut going and you just enjoy watching that shaper action doing its thing. It's very soothing and rewarding, and it's just a machine that I really, really love to operate. So we're gonna use a shaper for some of our Hardtail Vise build project here, and we're gonna go ahead and get started on it today. So we have our dynamic jaw that we're gonna be cutting today. This is the finished dynamic jaw out of the other Hardtail Vise. And it's really nice having this because now I have a finished pattern here that I can measure and compare as we're doing our cuts. I do have a print to go off of as well, but it's really nice having this as a finished piece so that I can take some measurements there and refer to what we need to do on the raw casting right here. I did go ahead and I got a brand new tool bit ground up. I took this piece of 1-inch Rex 95 tool bit here and I ground up a right and left-handed tool so that we can use that for both directions if we want to on this job. And I got some video of grinding this up that we'll throw into the video now so you guys can check that out. We've got this piece of Rex 95 1-inch square blank tool bit. We're going to grind it into a right and left-hand tool for the shaper. So here's a little closer look at our casting that we're going to be working on. So this is the bottom of the dynamic jaw. And the way that Jason at Fireball has got this design, he's got this register that's machined on the bottom of the jaw. And what that does is it helps keep the jaw centered in the vise there. You know how most every vise that you operate, this dynamic jaw, you can take it and you can kind of shake it around. You know, it's got a little bit of a looseness fit to it. And he's got this design so that as long as I machine the body right and it matches up to this right here, this is what guides this dynamic jaw and keeps it straight and in line and keeps it from rocking back and forth while you're using the vise or rotating the handle, getting in and out of there. So this is clearance here. Nothing rubs on this surface, but these two surfaces here is where it actually sits on and then goes in and out of the main body there. So we do have, I don't know, 200 or 300 thousandths that we got to take off of this. So we'll have a pretty good cut to take across this here. We'll go ahead and clear this surface here, and then we'll have to come in from each side. That's why I did a right and left hand tool. So we've got a right-handed tool there that we can cut this side, and then we can flip it around, flip it over, and then come in this side and cut this side there as well. Okay, and then we might come back with either that tool or another one, and make sure that our sides right here, that little lip is actually a nice 90-degree angle going down there to it. So I think that kind of covers what we're going to do. I will say that I'm not planning on machining this entire thing in the shaper because I do want to use a lot of my machines to get this project done. So we may only be cutting this surface here in the shaper. I haven't decided yet because I would like to put this in one of my CNC machines and do a little work in that machine there as well. So let's go over to the shaper and start getting this guy set up. All right, let's get this thing loaded up in our vise here. We're just going to set it right in here like that. Just kind of get it centered up good. Something about like that right there. Should be pretty good. All right. So I'm going to use my emery paper trick again. This is a technique that I learned reading one of my old machine shop books on shaper and planer use. And I think the old timers got this figured out. You just put you some emery paper or sandpaper, whatever, between your jaw and your casting. And the sandpaper or emery paper just helps bite into that casting a little bit better, since you got such a rough, porous surface there that's not exactly even. The emery cloth helps give it just a little bit of extra bite there. I think it helps kind of fill some of those voids. You know, you got a lot of highs and lows along that surface there. And sometimes they can be a little tough too. They can, you know, just like a hard surface. So this gives you more of a soft barrier between the jaw and the casting. I usually tape them on here, but I don't have any tape on me right now. So I'm having to just kind of use gravity to hold them in there for me. Just trying to get it even with the top of the jaw. Okay, we got that side. That side looks pretty even right there. All right, we're gonna hold down on it, snug it up, and let me go ahead and get this. All right, pretty tight there. Let's go ahead and we'll make sure it's seated good. And then tighten the vise up really well. All right, we'll get our tool installed here. We got our high-speed tool bit that we ground. We'll use the right-handed side. All right, and this is just a spacer that fills that gap in the lantern there. And in case you don't know, this is the clapper box, and the way it's designed is that it pivots up. Okay, so on the return stroke, where it's basically dragging the tool across the surface, it allows it to pick itself up like that so it doesn't really dig in or anything. And then once it clears the workpiece, drops back down, and then you just keep on cutting, okay? And then you also swing the clapper box away from the direction of feed. So we'll actually feed, if we're looking at it this way, we're going to feed from the right side over to the left. So you want your clapper box to swing that way. And what that does, if you kind of imagine an arc, whenever this thing is picked up with it at that angle, it's actually pivoting away from the cut whenever it does that. All right, so we'll get this in here and I'll have to just kind of get it lined up the way I want to, the tool bit, get it positioned the way I want. I might set it up so that after we cut the top, we can go ahead and cut this side there as well. And I want to bring it up to like a 90 degree. So that's pretty good. All right, and then the same wrench that tightens the vise, tightens the lantern here. You got to come on this side. So this is where you adjust the length of the stroke, how much stroke that you want back and forth there. This is measured in inches, so I've got it set to just past 29 there, so it'll be a little pat, I don't know, probably about 29 1/4 on your stroke. And if you need to adjust that, I keep this socket right up here, it's a 9/16 square, and if you need to adjust it, you just turn it like that. That's all it takes. All right, let's get her fired up. I want to get our stroke positioned properly. You want to kind of equalize on the back and the front. Bring our work over there underneath the tool. And it looks like it's going to be pretty close where it's at. What I always do is when you first move the head out, you want to make sure that you're clear underneath here, that you don't crash into this thing, the ram. All right, it's looking good. All right, that's looking pretty good. You see we got our tool coming just past the end of the work right here. That's looking pretty good. I think I got it set right where it needs to be. You want to be able to come off your workpiece, clear, it resets, and it comes back for another cut right there. So let's see it. Looking good. So this gear setup right here is where you adjust your strokes per minute. And I actually have the G&E set at 13 strokes a minute right there. Okay, and I'll show you how we come up with the formula to select 13. It's based off of our material that we're cutting and the type of tool that we're going to be using. All right, I'm going to show you one of my favorite books that I've had since I was a teenager. I had this book before I was ever practicing machine work. I found it at a yard sale in the neighborhood. Didn't know anything about it. I just picked it up. I thought it was really cool, and it turned out to be one of my favorite books I've ever had. All right, so we've got it set there to the shaper, and this is one that I did on one of the previous jobs right there. So that's the same formula that we're going to use. But if you'll look at this chart right here, the blue and the white chart, this is shaper feeds and speeds. All right, and it gives you machine steel, tool steel, cast iron, and brass as your 4 materials to pick from. And it gives you your cutting speeds in either meters or feet. So some of you metric guys probably really like that. But we're going to be cutting cast iron, okay? So we're focused on cast iron, and we are using a high-speed steel tool bit. They have it for carbide there as well, but we're not worried about that. So high-speed steel, cast iron, it's given us a recommended speed of 60 feet per minute. All right, so how do we figure out the strokes that we want for 60 feet a minute? This is the formulas that it's giving you right here. This is a breakdown of what it means in the formula, okay? But to just kind of speed things up, this is the one that you want to focus on right here, okay? So cutting speed times 7 divided by the length of stroke. So we'll get my calculator out and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. All right, so we already figured 60 feet a minute, right? So 60 times 7. Now that 7 has to do with the formula, and it's mentioned right here. It explains what that 7 is. All right, so 60 times 7 divided by the length of stroke. We're going to go 29.5 inches equals, that is going to be your recommended strokes a minute is 14.23. So the next closest speed that I have on my gearbox is 13, so that's why I selected 13. You can go up or down, but it's generally practice that you go down one, whatever you're closest to. All right, so real handy formula right there. Cutting speed times 7 divided by your length of stroke, and that will give you your strokes per minute on your shaper. Got a really handy chapter here, all things shaper. There's all your tool bits right there. Just a lot of really cool stuff in this book. I absolutely love it. If you see one of these guys, you definitely want to pick it up. When you're working with castings, it's an important technique to bevel the edges, both on the front edge and the back edge. The back edge, it helps keep it from chipping out as the tool is coming out of the cut. On the front side where the cut starts, it's important there because you're kind of removing that hard scale that's on the outside of the cast, and it's helping to eliminate dull in the tool as it comes into the cut. So just use a coarse file. And as you get into your cuts, depending on how much you got to take, you'll probably have to do this a few times. Okay, we're ready to get our workpiece touched off here. Note that I've got the knee completely locked down. You have a lock on both sides here and a lock on the front that supports it. Okay, just touched all the way out here on the outer end. Our first cut, we're going to try to take 50 thousandths there, eliminating the backlash. Bring our tool over. I want to make sure the tool is underneath this scale. It's important that you try to eliminate that on your first pass or it dulls the tool. I think I'm going to go ahead and shoot for another 50. All right, that's going to be 100,000 depth of cut. $20,000 step over 100,000 deep. I think our first cut across the vise here is a success. I think the best way to eliminate the chips after your cut is just to use the shop vac. That cut looks really nice across there. I do have a line in the middle there. You can see that's actually where I stopped the machine because I thought I was having an issue and I stopped it and I started again. So that's why that little shiny line's in there. So we've pretty much eliminated our bevel that we filed in there. So I'm gonna have to file that again and make sure that we don't chip that end out. But I'll take a measurement. I'm measuring back here on this thickness on the inside and the outside and kind of getting my rough measurement for this surface there based off our sample over there on the table. I'll measure that, but we had about 200, we had about a 1/4 of an inch that we could take off that. So I'll measure that again and evaluate. We're gonna take another 100 thousandths off this right there. We may come back with a third pass to finish it out. What I like to do is go past my measurement because I don't have a way to eliminate backlash on this. If you don't eliminate backlash and you're taking heavy cuts, it can actually pull the tool down into the cut there. So go past it and then back up to eliminate your backlash in the opposite direction, like that. That was our second roughing pass across there, and it looks really good. It's got a really pretty finish on it. One of the beauties of a shaper is if you get your tooling, everything right, you can create some gorgeous finishes that are different than a circular rotating cutter like on a milling machine. I love the linear pattern. That's one of the beauties of a shaper there. By the way, these little dark spots you might be seeing, that's just oil dripping off the tool head right there. That's just how it works. But I'm gonna make one very light pass across here just to clean this up. Doesn't really need much. I'm probably gonna take like 10 thousandths just to kind of slick that out even more, and it'll make that finish look even, especially when it comes off that last cut right there. It has sort of a little bit of an uneven look. So we'll just make a finishing pass. I'll show you a couple little clips of that, but then we'll move on and start getting our other two sides here, basically our ways, if you might want to call them that. We'll start getting those roughed in after that. I'm going to make me a couple of witness lines on here, and that's going to be about the stopping point for each side of our cut there. I'm going to set this to 19/32 of an inch, and that should give me a little bit to clean up the wall whenever we come in there to finish it out. Got just enough room here with our combination square. Two 2/16 is going to be our finish there, so we've got it just slightly over that. So I'll be able to just watch the tool come up next to that line and then be able to stop it. All right, we're ready to start our cut. What I have to keep in mind right here is that this is thicker than this right here. So I brought my tool down up to this edge, and that's where we'll start. Now once we get into that area that we've already cut, that's going to be a total of 150, so deeper than what we were cutting before, and I'm sure the machine and everything will handle it. But as we get into that radius, I'm probably going to slow our step down over to 10 thousandths and just kind of creep up on that line there. Slowed our feed, or step over, I mean. 10 thousandths per pass. I'm just looking at my mark there. Probably a couple more passes. All right, disengage the feed. I'm gonna let it just make a couple spring passes here, and then we'll stop it. Okay, we're right up against our mark, but I'm just gonna do a little measurement and see. Let me get my square butt here. And pretty close. I think that's gonna be good right where it's at right there. That's gonna give me, I don't know, 10, 20 thousandths per side to be able to clean this up on a straight cut down. We've got me a dial indicator set up there against the table on a 0. That will help me get back to the same exact shoulder position that we cut right there. So we're gonna make one more roughing pass. So this depth right here on the print is 250 thousandths. So we've just taken 150. So we're gonna go ahead and dial in another, we'll take it down to 245, and that'll give us about 5 thousandths to clean up on the bottom right there, because I wanna come back in here with our finishing tool and really slick that out and try to make a really pretty finish on that. All right, we just came up on our indicator, 2 more passes. Or I'll stop the feed too soon. Tell you what I'll do. Still got 10 thousandths to go. Just manually bringing it in. There we go. That turned out really nice. I had re-honed that tool before we started this cut there, and then we used our 10,000 step over. So that is actually a beautiful smooth finish on that. So hopefully I can replicate that on the other side there as well. What I'm going to do is take that tool and just flip it over, and then we'll come in from this side in to our mark there. We'll get it set up and show you how the cut goes once we get it moving. All right, we're ready to start cutting this other side right there. I've got the tool touched off on this surface and we've already fed it down 150. It's a pretty simple process to do that. I didn't get any video, but all I do is I just bring the tool down without the ram advancing all the way back here in this back corner, and I just bring the tool head down very gently until it touches that. And then I take the table and I'll just move it back and forth to verify that it's just touching that surface. And you can look at that and verify it, and that should put you within 1/2000th of being the same. But my intentions is whenever we finish this surface right here, is that we'll finish both of them at the same time. So I want these two surfaces to be exactly the same, using the same exact tool. We'll use a square nose tool to finish them out. But I am really happy with that finish. Boy, it looks really good. So we've got it set. Let's go ahead and start our cuts. Now we're going to be feeding that direction. All right, got our feet engaged. Backed our feet off to 10,000 step over now that we're in that heavy section. And I'm just standing here watching for our line. One or two more passes. All right, I'm gonna stop our feed right there. Let's do a spring pass. And then we'll stop it. Get a little better look at that line there. Yep, it's looking pretty good. I think we're there. Yep, right there on it. We're gonna leave it, I'm gonna set an indicator for a 0 right there. Got those edges filed. We'll use a depth mic here. Measure the first side that we cut. That's measuring 241 on the depth. Over here and measure this side. And that is 151 right there. So we'll compensate, move our tool down so that hopefully we'll land on the same depth as this guy right there. So that's a difference of 90 thousandths. Each line is 2 thousandths. So the way I like to go is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So that's 250 per revolution. 60, 70, 80, 90. All right, we're gonna lock it and we're just gonna eliminate the backlash. Just like that. Feet engaged. So actually I messed up. Nothing bad, I just forgot to set my dial indicator before I moved it to make that next offset there. So I'm gonna have to just sneak up on our shoulder and just watch it. I've got it set at 10,000 step over, so I should be able to see it as it comes into those last final passes. Looks like about 50, 60 thousandths. Couple more. Disengage the feed there. Great thing about shapers, you can stop like this and inspect. Looks like it's actually got one more. All right, I think I'm gonna leave it right there. We're gonna come in there with a tool and go vertically down each side so that we have completely 90-degree square edges there. That cut turned out beautiful, just like the other side. I just wanted to see where we landed, compare the two readings there. One and a half thousandths difference. This is 1.5 thousandths lower on that side. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and swap out tools. I'm gonna go with an actual, one of my Armstrong tool holders. We're gonna use a smaller tool bit. And the next thing we'll do is go ahead and work on our two vertical 90-degree sides there for this. And when we get that cut in, then we'll switch to our finishing tool and put our finish on both sides.